Nigeria is associated with the phrase the giant of Africa due to its large population. These, according to multiple reports, constitute one-sixth of the continent's total, which is attributed to perhaps its geopolitical significance and the size of its economy. However, the prevalence of the extreme poverty in the country functions as a major push factor for youth migration in the sub-region.
As part of engaging the journalists, as part of shaping the migration narrative, we've been having a 3 days training targeting mostly on the journalists with the main aim of promoting safe migration. But then again, we all know the important role that the journalists play in our society in terms of agenda setting.
In a bid to reduce such risks and promote safe migration, the International Organization for Migration (IOM), who had been championing campaigns against irregular migration in Abuja, set up a 3-day training workshop. The whole essence was to build synergy as key players in shaping public debates.
The main objective of the journalist training is bringing journalists as part of the conversation when it comes to issues of human trafficking, issues of irregular migration. We all know fighting or rather addressing these vices calls for collaborations from both parties, and considering the role the journalists are playing in our society, it is crucial, of course, to work hand in hand with them.
Raising more concerns on risk taken by Nigerian youths in violation of the migration norms, it has become a major concern for all. But for IOM, it is more than just sensitization.
From time to time, we've also seen the contributions of these migrants into the society. And it's high time to bring in the conversation on board and look at what are the contributions of these returnees in their society? What are the contributions of migrants in their society? What role can their community play? That's why, as an organization, building the capacity of journalists is also so that at least we can be able to see this kind of stories in terms of like contributions and the difference that different migrants are bringing on board, the changes that the migrants are actually doing in their respective communities. As part of the interventions within organization, other than awareness raising and advocacy in terms of promoting safe migration, part of the key things we've been working with key government institutions is, of course, in terms of the policy, because it's one thing of to do the sensitization, but then again, we also need to work with different government partners. So we've been supporting the government by working through different line ministries. For instance, the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment. We established 3 migrant resource centers. We've been working with the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced, working on standard operating procedures when it comes to assisted voluntary and return and reintegration.
Stigmatization and labels such as illegal migration, undocumented migration, unauthorized migration, and clandestine migration are among the many that have been used against victims and identified.
As an agency, what IOM does is, first, we don't work in silos. We collaborate with different government agencies, and when it comes to issues of addressing a stigma, we have key players on board. Through our mental health and psychosocial support team, we've been able to engage through the Ministry of Health, whereby we've provided like a technical support, especially when it comes to like the referral mechanism. But then again, we've gone a notch higher to train some of these return migrants who are volunteer field officers as mentors in the society. And they are key respondents when it comes to engaging with their fellow returnees. For those maybe who might need further support, they can always provide the immediate support, and then of course make references through the different available services in respective states. But then again, we've been working on different programming. For instance, in 2018, we had a soccer tournament that had returnees, the government partners, civil society organization. We've been using things such as arts, things such as music, and the main aim here is trying to bring all these parties together.
The 3 days workshop provided journalists cut across the country with an in-depth overview on key terminology and legal instruments. They shared their testimonies shortly at the end of a 3-day intensive training engagement.
I would like to say that in this moment, there's a different dimension to my earlier perceived attitude towards reporting news that has to do with irregular migration. As a human being, when you are taught, one of the most important things is to carry the message to the society the way you received it. At that time, you would have been doing good by changing the narrative, the way people perceive those who are victims of irregular migration. Yes, I would like to recommend that journalists and there should be synergy between IOM and journalists who have had the opportunity to participate in this training, particularly in caregiving, because those you are talking about are victims. Most of them are victims. They may not have knowledge or awareness of where they are going to be taken to. So if we continue to partner, if we continue to do it the same way this training has been done, then the society will be at peace.
It's been very wonderful, and we desire to have more of this often, because it has actually shaped us in different areas, especially in the area of protecting the migrants, the returning migrants. Because during the lectures, we learned a lot on how to protect the data and how to take their pictures and how not to give their consent and how to actually assent with them if they decide not to give their consent. And even if they happen to give their consent, we should still apply wisdom in the way we report it to enable us protect them from the society, especially those migrants who have issues with probably those who have taken them out and they are searching for them. So we have to protect them through our reportage.
This program is a very interesting one. I so much enjoyed it, I so much appreciated it. It exposed me to a lot of things I did not know about migration, and I want to take the message of what I have learned in this program home and enlighten others on what is happening around the world about migration, which people do not know about. It has really enlightened us and put all the things we have learned in this program into use for the betterment of our migrant population and for the interest of the entire world, as I believe that migration affects the economy of the world drastically in one way or the other.
I've learned a lot. First of all, I've learned the importance of my role as a journalist and how I carry power, in telling stories. I could change the narrative either way. Second of all, I've also learned that migrants have rights. They're human. We just see them, when we're reporters, just say those people that just want to they have rights. They have valid rights like you and I and everyday people. And that we have to be careful with the power of words, how we choose to describe and identify people, their genders, the reason why they're migrating. Just be very careful with the choice of words and don't just sensationalize every story.
This training to this period is a kind of what we call revival, because when we go to the field over a period of time, we forget a lot of things. So when we come for trainings like this, our knowledge is refreshed about the do's and don'ts in migration reporting, because migration is an emotional thing. So most of the time when we go to the field, we get carried away and become highly emotional, trying to break the news without minding the do's and don'ts, without looking at the ethical implications of some of the things we are doing. So this training has really brought to mind again the need to respect the migrants, to be highly ethical in whatever we are doing.
With continued youth unemployment geometrically rising, coupled with other variables such as policy instability, heralding rising waves of killings and kidnappings, the only option probably left is to seek greener pasture abroad. IOM says they are not against seeking migration opportunities, but promoting safe migration with valid documents. Eben Inasco reporting.
So the reason I'm coming back to that is the question I want to ask, what is it that is being put in place to protect returned migrants from journalists?